Hi, it's me, your local 25-year-old lady who still plays with little skateboards. I've got ducky tape and I think it's really cool, so I wanted to give it a little review. There are three versions. There's Ducky Tape C, which is a colorful version of regular ducky tape. There's regular ducky tape, and there's also Ducky Tape Frosted. Ducky Tape Frosted is less grippy than regular ducky tape, and also a little less transparent. Now, it sounds like a bad thing, but it definitely isn't. So my first thoughts on regular ducky tape was that, one, it's amazing because it's so ridiculously grippy. Two, oh my god, I can see my top ply perfectly. Three, wow, this is really, really hard to cut and apply. And four, I can't kickflip. And I'll get into that a little more. Regular ducky tape, which is on this metal top ply deck, it is incredible in terms of visibility for your top ply, but in my experience, it was a little bit too grippy. It was much, much grippier than your worn-in, most loved foam tape. More grippy than Black Velvet, more grippy than FPS Extra Smooth. It's just grippier than any of that really, really high-quality foam tape. Now, I think a lot of people think that ducky tape must be sticky or like regular tape or something of that nature, but it's not. It's not sticky to the touch at all, even if I try to make it so. And it's just like a rubber material that, just like regular foam grip, sticks in mid-air versus when you first put your fingers on it. I lost a wheel earlier, so please ignore that, but it's just really, really, really grippy when you're up in the air. This was a little bit of a problem for me with kickflips because I felt that when you're doing tricks in which your fingers move in unison, which for me is how I kickflip, I bring my hand towards me and thus both of my fingers are moving at the same rate, at the same speed, at the same angle, at the same time. And to me that was really difficult because ducky tape is so darn grippy that when I was in mid-air, it kind of thought like I was doing an ollie or something like that. And so I would end up doing half flips a lot, which was a little bit tedious for me. Now, this is not an issue with ducky tape. This is mostly just a learning curve. I am used to the way regular foam tape feels and how to flip that. I'm not used to the way this higher level of grip on ducky tape feels. That is definitely something to take in mind. I thought to myself when I used ducky tape for the first time, this is super fun, I love it, I am not going to put this on a main setup and I'm not going to use it long term. I think by all means it is worth trying and absolutely worth the money, but I just did not want to compromise my writing style and my lifelong adoration for regular foam tape in order to use this. And granted, you could do both, you could absolutely use both, and some people now use ducky tape exclusively. But I didn't want to because I am very hard-headed and stubborn and I like what I like and I tend to keep things that way. That being said, on a random fun setup that I just kickflip on occasionally, or maybe not kickflip, heel flip or something else on occasionally, I think it would be the perfect tape. I think for my preferences, it wasn't my favorite long-term tape, but it is an option and it is a really good one. Now, I thought that about ducky tape and then I heard about ducky tape frosted. Initially, ducky tape frosted was advertised as a less grippy ducky tape, which I think to a lot of people is absolutely terrifying because when you think of clear tape, if you think of it at all, you must think that it's not nearly as grippy as foam grip. And once these expectations are broken and met with your reality that ducky tape is just astonishingly grippy, less grippy version actually sounds very appealing, especially for hard-headed folks like me. So I have ducky tape frosted here on this lovely FL deck of mine. From the second I put this on, it was superior to regular ducky tape. And why is that? It's because it feels like a familiar level of grip. It doesn't feel too grippy, it doesn't feel like it has too little grip. It's just like my favorite worn-in grip, whether that's Black Velvet or FPS Extra Smooth. I think the frosted tape has an equal level of grip to your regular foam tape, and I think that's awesome because I didn't want to get used to this, but I had a really small learning curve with this, and it feels a lot more familiar. It's easier to flip. I promise I can kick flip. It's just lovely, and I think this really blew my mind. I was blown away by this because it's so grippy and so transparent, but after knowing what that's like, this is definitely my favorite. And I partially wanted to make this review because I think that this one doesn't have enough love, and it is absolutely the more user-friendly version of ducky tape in my opinion, and I think it deserves a little bit more merit when it comes to people trying it out or thinking that it's a worthwhile purchase. I also think that frosted ducky tape, though it is less transparent than regular ducky tape, it's still really nicely see-through, especially if you don't put it on a clear deck. That being said, I did want to mention a couple of things about ducky tape that aren't ideal, but when you think about foam tape, it also has its cons, so I don't think these are deal breakers at all, but something you should keep in mind. It is very difficult to apply. You need to do it as carefully and perfectly as possible in order to get a ultimate result that you're happy with. Savannah has a lovely video on how to do just that, and I would really suggest you follow it to a T. It's easy to get air bubbles on your decks the way I have it on this FL deck. It's easy to miss certain crevices like dips and get air bubbles there. It's easy to cut it really roughly. It's honestly a little bit fickle when it comes to the application process, but once it's on, it's not going anywhere unless you want it to. Also, I've heard some reports from people where they feel like their ducky tape feels almost sandy after some time of use, which is very distracting. I don't know if people have tried this, but Savannah actually recommends cleaning it with regular masking tape. I used this board near a beach and it fell in sand, so it was literally sandy. And after using masking tape, it felt back to normal. I haven't heard back from those folks about whether that worked for them, but if it did, then, or if it's worked for you, then please let me know. That's something to keep in mind. The tape itself doesn't get dirty very easily in my experience. It does get dirty on the edges though, which I find a little bit distracting. It's not a huge deal. It actually is kind of similar to foam tape in that regard, but it does happen, so you might want to keep an eye out for that. I also really love ducky tape for filling in grip gaps because I love knowing where the tail is. I do notice though that over time, due to flicking and rotating and all of that, the tape does start peeling off on the very edges of my grip gap. This is brand new, so I can't show you in an example, unfortunately, but that does happen to me, and it gets dirty because it lifts, and obviously the adhesive catches all kinds of dirt and gunk. Besides that, I do think ducky tape is a really lovely product. It's just so cool to have a new kind of tape available on the market, especially one that allows you to appreciate the beauty of your top plies as fingerboarding moves even more into artistry than it already was. I personally would recommend the frosted tape. I feel somehow that both tapes kind of weigh down your deck a little more than usual, which is pleasant for me, but maybe not super pleasant for all. It might just be a feeling, it might not necessarily be a fact, but I have felt that with frosted and regular ducky tape, and I think Annie agrees with me on that. So ultimately, I think it's a really lovely product. I'm a super nerd for innovation in fingerboard products, and I love this hobby, and I love everything that there is out there to try. So I had to try this. I do think whether or not you end up liking it long term, it's worth the purchase. I hope that in the future Savannah will offer some sort of variety pack so you can try all three versions and kind of pick and choose your favorite. But if she doesn't, and you plan on using this a little bit more seriously, I would personally recommend frosted tape, but know that regular ducky tape is perfectly usable too if you just give it a little bit of time and a little bit of love to get to know it, wear it in a little, because it actually does wear with use. I don't think it wears out, but it does break in and becomes a little bit more writable and less sticky. But unless you want to put that time in, I do think that frosted tape is a superior choice. Either way, both are solid, and I'm just super happy to have another lovely fingerboard product in the market. So I try to make this as short as possible because I can go on for quite a while about this, but I hope that clears up a few questions, and I hope it helps you have a little bit more insight towards your future purchases. So if you have any questions, let me know and I'm happy to help you answer them. Thank you, Savannah, for sending me some blemished frosted ducky tape for me to try. It was not at all intended for review or anything like that. I was telling her my honest thoughts on regular ducky tape. She said frosted ducky tape is actually something that might be up your alley. I tried it, I was like, wow, and that's why I'm making the review. So thank you for watching, and I am a 25-year-old lady signing out. Thanks for liking my fingerboard toys.